Part of that 100-day campaign, the first 100 days of a Trump administration, should we see one, is to help businesses prosper, do well, and not only by lowering their taxes, but dramatically cutting back on regulations, which, as my panelists here to tell me, I guess on the right or left is the bigger bane of business today. Again, whether they're from the right or left. With us right now is Zane Tankel, we've got Butch Yamali, and we've got Rhonda Binda. Rhonda is the Democrat here. Hillary Clinton says she has a plan to help small businesses, and that involves largely providing them access to capital, make it easier to get loans, et cetera, but not doing a lot about regulation, which bothers some small businesses. How do you feel about that?
Well, we definitely need to continue to focus on cutting through the red tape to make it easier for businesses to flourish and to have access to the programs that will gain more access to capital and to support them in their growth. And
but is it enough to say, all right, I might get you or help you get more SBA loans? Is that enough to cut it?
No. Well, there definitely needs to be support and getting access to be able to access those loans, right? Yeah. So she's very dedicated to cutting back also on regulations so that we can have it more direct. And this is what you saw happened in the Obama administration that created the 15 million new jobs. Is that
they're all government jobs, though? That's all. Isn't that jobs?
Well, in small business, yeah. 2/3 of the jobs were small business jobs.
But in other words, if you like what Barack Obama's done, even though it's the weakest recovery on record, that's what she's going to do?
Well, you know, 8 million jobs were lost during the last Republican recession, and then so of course the growth could be faster, but we were also building back up, and so now I think we're at a pivot point where we are seeing with her plan 10 million new jobs to come online.
There's no way of knowing that for sure, but what you heard some of those arguments, what do you think?
Yeah, she's not specific. I mean, at least Trump is saying I'm going to cut back on taxes and corporate tax.
Well, what would help you?
Cutting back on corporate taxes, getting the middle class to have a little less tax.
So a tax rate of 15% would suit you just fine.
It'll help me tremendously. It'll put money in people's pockets. The same thing with...
You're in the catering business.
I'm in the catering restaurant business in Long Island, New York.
So an improving economy helps your business.
I'll have parties. I'll have people come into the restaurants. The same thing with Obamacare. People now are forced to pay. They don't have the money, and they're paying, and they're not going out to dinner anymore. They're not having parties, having things in their backyard again. They talk about getting all these jobs. I don't see these jobs.
I think you're going to Zane's restaurant.
They're having, of course.
What's happening? Your business is doing very well, isn't it?
Well, the entire space, I'm glad you're smiling, Neil. The entire restaurant space is struggling, from quick service to fast casual to casual, even fine dining to some degree.
So what would a Donald Trump do for you versus Hillary Clinton?
You know, I want to believe he'll do a lot, but frankly, I don't have the confidence he knows how to get it done. There's a vast difference between running a $4, $5, $6 billion company and running a multi-trillion-dollar economy. And
but for people to make the call to go to Applebee's or whatever, you know, and you're a very successful restaurateur, that's not a killer price point. I mean, it's not as if, you know, Del Frisco's a steakhouse next door. I mean, that's a price point that would entertain people going for the good food, et cetera, right?
It would if, and I work with Rhonda, so no offense to Rhonda and the Democrats, but the reality is that there's things like health care, which people never had before. And I was taking a look at all the space. Traditionally, if you didn't eat fast food, you upgraded to casual dining. And if you went from casual, you went to fine dining. It moved up and down.
Right.
Parties.
All the space is underwater now, all of it, for the first time ever in the restaurant industry. And I take a hard look at this, and I can't figure out what would affect all this space.
Well, what would help you?
What would help? Certainly regs. You got the DOB, the NLRB. I mean, she's talking about unions and moving unions out. You know, Neil, someone asked me once if we made our iPhones here in the United States instead of putting them together in China or Thailand, you'll pay $5,000 for that iPhone, because it's really nice to say you make $50,000, but somebody pays for it.
Rhonda, would it be enough? We'll give you the final word on this since they're bashing your candidate. But would it be enough just to say we're going to look out for you, try to deal with these regulations, because they just seem to pile on and on and on?
No, it takes much more of a comprehensive approach. There are other promises that Trump is committed to, like defaulting on the dollar and our debt, and that will just create
well, he's not.
havoc.
He's dialed that back a little bit, but do you think that Hillary Clinton...
Or reducing education by $73 billion. So it has to be...
But all the health care responsibilities and everything else, he wants to get rid of the health care thing, that is eating away.
For the smallest businesses, you're exempt from Obamacare.
No, they're not, though.
For the smallest ones, you are.
You still have to pay.
And there is a movement towards reforming to create a public option that will reduce for everyone.
But right now they're dealing with all these high premiums and everything else.
The premiums were going up already before, and actually I believe it's going at it's a slower rate.
But you'd have to admit you'd have to say it's a bit of a disappointment, right? It hasn't panned out the way it was thought.
Well,
even Obama.
Even Bill Clinton.
I think we're progressing in the right direction to cover Americans, so that we all have health care just as every other modern country in the world has.
The quagmire of governmental regulations that to run a business one has to go through is incredible. DOB, NLRB, it's an alphabet soup.
And then you have the local regulations.
And then you've got to have administrators to see that you do it.
Every day, day in, day out, on working with over 500 businesses like yours.
You work with us. You work with us. You're
terrific. Have you helped them at all?
And we have, Wall Street Journal named us the #1 district in New York City, over 400 neighborhoods.
You do a great job.
Because
can you talk to Hillary Clinton then? Because maybe she doesn't get it.
I've enacted locally in my neighborhood over the past 2 years.
So you don't hate business people. You don't hate business.
Oh no, it's hand in hand. It's hand in hand.
Absolutely. No. Rhonda understands. She just doesn't understand it, and all due respect to you, the quagmire that one has to go through to achieve a bottom line that can keep us.
Even open up a business.
Or open up a business.
I will say the most red tape was eliminated under the Clinton administration. There was a massive overhaul, and we will probably see more of that happening on the federal level. Yes.
Yeah. Trump is in business. Yeah. He's a businessman. At least you have a chance. She was never really did anything.
Bottom line, Butch, I think it's fair to say you're not going to be getting any catering contracts at the...
Neil, hopefully he's sleeping with her and she's sleeping with him and they talk to each other at night.
We'll leave that alone because look at the time.